The global trade landscape is once again fraught with tension. The stakes are high and the world is watching closely as the dynamics of international trade shift and evolve. This isn't just a minor skirmish, it's a significant confrontation that could reshape economic relationships for years to come. This time, it's a familiar face-off between the world's two largest economies, China and the United States. These two powerhouses have a long history of economic competition, but recent developments have brought their rivalry to a boiling point. The implications of this face-off extend far beyond their borders, affecting global markets and economies. What started as a trade dispute has escalated into a potential trade war, sending ripples of uncertainty throughout the global market. Investors are on edge, and businesses are scrambling to adapt to the rapidly changing landscape. The initial disagreements over tariffs and trade policies have snowballed into a broader conflict that threatens to destabilize the global economy. Both sides have dug in their heels, raising tariffs and exchanging accusations. The tit-for-tat measures have created a cycle of retaliation that shows no signs of abating. Each new round of tariffs brings with it increased costs for businesses and consumers, further straining economic relations between the two nations. This escalation has serious implications for the global economy, threatening to disrupt supply chains and impact businesses worldwide. Companies that rely on international trade are facing increased costs and uncertainty, which could lead to higher prices for consumers and reduced economic growth. The interconnected nature of modern supply chains means that disruptions in one part of the world can have far-reaching consequences. The current situation is a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the global economy. No country operates in isolation, and the actions of one can have significant repercussions for others. The trade tensions between China and the United States are a clear example of how economic policies and decisions can ripple through the global market, affecting everything from stock prices to employment rates. When giants clash, the tremors are felt by everyone. The economic powerhouses of China and the United States have the ability to influence global markets in profound ways. Their ongoing conflict is causing uncertainty and instability, which can lead to reduced investment, slower economic growth, and increased volatility in financial markets. It's a critical juncture that demands careful navigation and a commitment to dialogue to prevent further escalation. Diplomatic efforts are essential to finding a resolution that benefits all parties involved. Negotiations must be approached with a willingness to compromise and a recognition of the broader impact on the global economy. The stakes are too high for a prolonged conflict, and finding a path to de-escalation is crucial. The world is watching, hoping for a resolution that safeguards the stability and prosperity of international trade. The outcome of this trade war will have lasting implications for global economic relations. A peaceful resolution could pave the way for more cooperative and mutually beneficial trade policies, while a prolonged conflict could lead to further economic fragmentation and instability. The international community is holding its breath, waiting to see how this critical chapter in global trade will unfold. China has accused the United States of employing tactics of economic coercion. This accusation comes amidst a backdrop of escalating trade tensions between the two global superpowers. The Chinese government has been vocal about what it perceives as unfair practices by the United States, which they believe are designed to undermine China's growing economic influence. They argue that the United States is unfairly using tariffs and other trade barriers to pressure China into making concessions. These measures, according to Chinese officials, are not just about protecting American industries, but are strategic moves to limit China's economic growth and technological advancements. These concessions, China claims, are not about fair trade practices, but about stifling China's economic rise. The Chinese government has pointed out that the tariffs and trade barriers have had significant impacts on their manufacturing sector, affecting millions of workers and businesses. They argue that this is a deliberate attempt to slow down China's rapid economic development. China views the United States' actions as a direct threat to its sovereignty and economic interests. They believe that these tactics are aimed at forcing China to change its economic policies and align more closely with Western standards, which they see as an infringement on their national autonomy. They see it as an attempt to dictate China's economic policies and maintain United States hegemony in the global trading system. This ongoing economic conflict has far-reaching implications, not just for the two countries involved, but for the global economy as a whole. The world watches closely as these two economic giants navigate this complex and contentious relationship, with the outcomes likely to shape international trade dynamics for years to come. The United States, on the other hand, maintains that its actions are justified. They believe that the measures they are taking are necessary to protect their national interests and to ensure fair competition in the global market. The U.S. government argues that without these actions, American businesses and workers would be at a significant disadvantage. They argue that China engages in unfair trade practices, including intellectual property theft and forced technology transfers. These practices, according to the U.S., give Chinese companies an unfair edge over their American counterparts. The U.S. claims that Chinese firms often benefit from state subsidies and other forms of government support, which distort the market and harm international competition. The United States aims to level the playing field and protect American businesses and workers from what they perceive as unfair competition. By imposing tariffs and other trade barriers, the U.S. hopes to encourage China to change its trade practices. The goal is to create a more balanced and equitable trading environment where American companies can compete on equal footing. The United States strategy involves not just direct tariffs on Chinese goods, but also pressuring other countries to comply with their trade demands. This multifaceted approach is designed to isolate China economically and force it to make concessions. The U.S. believes that by rallying other nations to their cause, they can create a united front that will be more effective in bringing about change. This includes threatening secondary tariffs on nations that continue to trade with China on terms deemed unfavorable by the United States. These secondary tariffs are intended to dissuade other countries from undermining U.S. efforts by continuing to engage in what the U.S. considers unfair trade practices with China. The overarching aim is to reshape the global trade landscape in a way that prioritizes fair competition and protects the interests of American businesses and workers. The immediate impact of this trade war is being felt in the form of tariffs. Both countries have imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of each other's goods. This has increased the cost of imports, hurting businesses and consumers on both sides. The uncertainty surrounding the trade war has also rattled global markets. Stock markets have experienced volatility, reflecting investor anxiety about the potential for a prolonged economic conflict. This uncertainty makes businesses hesitant to invest and expand, potentially hindering global economic growth. Section 5. Caught in the crossfire, Southeast Asia responds. Southeast Asian nations, many of which have close economic ties with both China and the United States, find themselves in a particularly vulnerable position. They are now caught in the crossfire, facing pressure to choose sides. These nations are trying to mitigate the impact of the trade war by diversifying their trade partners and seeking new markets. They are also exploring regional trade agreements to reduce their reliance on the United States and China. Section 6. China's next move. Appeal to the UN. China has indicated its intention to bring the trade dispute before international platforms, including the United Nations. They aim to rally international support against what they perceive as unilateral and protectionist actions by the United States. China believes that multilateral institutions like the UN are crucial for resolving trade disputes fairly and transparently. They argue that a rules-based system is essential for maintaining a stable and predictable global trading environment. Section 7. The future of global trade. Uncertainty looms. The current trade war between China and the U.S. has cast a long shadow on the future of global trade. It has exposed the fragility of the global trading system and raised concerns about a potential shift towards protectionism. If this dispute continues to escalate, it could lead to a fragmentation of global trade. This could result in the emergence of competing trade blocs with different rules and regulations, further complicating international trade. Section 8. A world divided. The trade war also has geopolitical implications. It contributes to the growing rivalry between China and the U.S., potentially leading to a more divided world. This division could spill over into other areas of cooperation, such as climate change and global security, making it even more challenging to address pressing global issues. Section 9. A conclusion, a call for dialogue. The escalating trade tensions between China and the U.S. pose a significant threat to global economic stability. The current situation underscores the importance of dialogue and cooperation in resolving trade disputes. The international community must urge both sides to return to the negotiating table and find a mutually acceptable solution. Failure to do so could have far-reaching consequences, jeopardizing the interconnected global economy that has brought prosperity to so many.